The baby's cry cut through the thin walls like a knife. The stepmother held her tight, rocking back and forth, her eyes darting to the shadows. The room smelled of smoke and damp wood. She pressed the child closer and whispered, "Shoo, it's all right. Mama's here." The candle flickered, threatening to go out. A sound at the porch made her freeze. Footsteps, deliberate, uneven. She stiffened. "Who's there?" A man's voice, low and urgent, whispered from the doorway. "I need to talk. Now." His coat was soaked, mud clinging to the hems. The baby cried louder. She tightened her hold. "You can't just come in here. I don't have a choice." His eyes were dark, hollowed by exile and something older, heavier. "You need to know what they did." "They?" She swallowed, trying to keep the panic from her voice. "My husband? Don't speak like that." He stepped closer, careful, keeping the candle between them. "He's gone, and you know why. I saw it. They didn't leave it to chance." Her breath caught. I don't understand." "Who?" "Power. Old families. The sheriff. People who claim to protect you but serve only themselves." His voice rasped, almost breaking. "I was cast out. I watched it happen. I should have stopped it. You can't pretend you don't see it, not now." She rocked the baby faster, the cries muffled against her chest. "You speak in riddles. Why are you here? What do you want from me? Listen. You've got a choice. Protect her. Or watch it all burn around you." His hands twitched, not threatening, just desperate. "I've seen what happens when silence rules. You think you can hide behind this house, this child, but they will reach you." Her eyes flicked to the cradle. The baby's tiny fingers curled around the blanket. I can't do what you ask. I don't even know what it is." "You will," he said, voice steady now, almost cold. "And you must. Or nothing will be left. Not her, not your bloodline. They are coming, and they don't forgive. They don't forget." She shook her head, tears stinging. "You're mad. You're a ghost from some old story. I can't trust you." He stepped closer, shadowed by the candlelight. "You don't have to trust me. Just listen. You have the child. That's your leverage. That's your shield. But they'll test you. And if you fail," his voice trailed into the dark, unspoken. She swallowed hard, rocking the baby as the cry slowed. I can't lose her. I won't." "No one said you would," he whispered. "But you can't act like the world isn't watching. They left wounds they want to see reopened. They want you to break before you even know the game." A silence fell. The wind rattled the windows. Outside, an owl called, long and hollow. The baby's eyes blinked open, staring into the flickering shadows. She traced the tiny fingers, heart hammering. "And if I do as you say, then what?" "Then we survive. Maybe more. But you can't wait. The hour is late. The choices you make now, they echo." His voice was softer, almost intimate, a whisper meant to be burned into memory. "You will understand, soon. And when you do, you can't turn back." She pressed the baby to her chest, feeling the steady warmth, the fragile life. She shivered. I'll listen. But I swear. I protect her first. Always." He nodded once, like a shadow conceding ground. "That's all I ask. You have more strength than you know. And more danger than you realize." The candle guttered and went out. Darkness swallowed the room, but she held the baby tighter, listening to the echo of the exiled man's words. Outside, the wind whispered secrets she could not ignore. The night stretched on, heavy, and she whispered to the child, "We're not alone. And we'll survive. Somehow." The dawn slipped through the cracks of the old cabin, thin and gray. The baby slept, tangled in blankets. The stepmother's hands were still trembling from the night, clutching the child as if holding onto a lifeline. The exiled man leaned against the doorway, boots muddy, coat still damp. His eyes were fixed on her, unblinking, quiet. "Tell me," she said, voice low, wary. "Tell me everything. Start at the beginning. There's not much beginning to it. Just layers. Secrets. Bloodlines that shouldn't have been broken. Power that corrupts before it's earned." He paused. "Your husband, he didn't die by accident." Her grip on the baby tightened. "Stop. You're saying..." "I'm saying they made it happen. They orchestrated it. Every move, every lie, every silence. They wanted him gone. And they nearly got you too." "Who?" She shook her head. "Sheriff? The landowners? The preacher? All of them. And more. People you think are friends. People who smile while they carve you out of their world." She looked down at the baby, tiny fists clenched in sleep. I can't believe it. I can't even process." "You have to," he interrupted, voice sharper now. "You can't hide behind grief. You're carrying more than a child. You're carrying a name, a debt, a curse they left for someone else to pay." Her teeth ground together. "Curse? Don't talk to me about curses. There are no curses, only men too cruel to stop themselves." He shook his head. "Wrong. The curse is real. It's memory. It's the fear they plant in your chest so deep you obey it without thinking. You call it cruelty. I call it survival." Her jaw tightened. "And you? You survived this how? By hiding in shadows, whispering threats?" "I survived by watching. By knowing the truth when others ignored it." His voice softened. "I've seen families like yours fall apart under their weight. You're next if you don't act. I'm telling you now, before it's too late." She stared at him. The baby stirred, eyes opening, tiny and unafraid. She whispered, voice breaking. "I don't even know where to start." "You start with what you know. Who you can trust. Who you can't. The rest you learn by acting." He pushed off the doorway, moving closer, careful to keep his shadow from the child. "Look at me. You're stronger than you think. Stronger than him. Stronger than all of them." She faltered. "I am scared. I've never done anything like this before. I'm just a woman with a child. That's all." "That's enough," he said firmly. "For now. But it will have to be more. They won't stop. They never do. And they'll come at you quietly at first, then with fire." "Fire?" She flinched, remembering the flickers from the night before. "You mean?" "Yes. Exactly that." He didn't elaborate. His silence filled the room like a warning. The wind rattled the cabin, thin boards shivering under the pressure of it. The baby whined softly. She pressed her lips to its forehead. "I will protect you. Even if it kills me." "I know," he said, quieter now, almost a confession. "And you might die anyway. But at least it will be on your terms. Not theirs." She swallowed. "And the rest? The family? The people who left me alone? You'll have to face them. One by one. Secrets have a way of crawling out of the ground like roots. You can't ignore them." Her shoulders slumped. "And if I can't? If I fail?" "You won't fail. Not entirely. You carry the child. That is the legacy. That is the leverage. That is everything they want to destroy, and everything you must save." She clutched the baby closer, tears wet on her cheeks. "I didn't ask for this. I just wanted peace. Peace is a luxury, he said, voice low and unwavering. And luxury is a trap in a place like this. You want to survive. You want justice. You want to see the truth laid bare. That's your task now. She nodded slowly, letting the words settle, letting the weight press against her chest. Then I'll do it. Somehow. I have to. For her. For him. For everything they tried to take from me. The exiled man stepped back, just enough to give her space. Good. We start tonight. There's no time to waste. And the longer you wait, the less chance you have of seeing tomorrow. Outside, the wind sighed through the trees. Inside, the baby's small hands curled against her chest. She whispered, more to herself than anyone else, "We'll survive. We have to." The man watched her, silent, knowing that the first step was always the hardest. The past was heavy, but the burden of blood could be carried if she chose to bear it. The stepmother carried the baby to the edge of the old well behind the cabin. The wooden cover was warped and splintered. She leaned over, peering into the darkness. The wind whispered through the trees, low and constant, stirring dry leaves across the yard. The baby stirred, tiny fists brushing her cheek. "Quiet now," she murmured. "It's just us." The exiled man stepped closer, boots crunching on gravel. "You see it, don't you?" "See what?" She glanced at him, brow furrowed. "It's just a well. Nothing more." "Not just a well," he said. "Look deeper. Pay attention. The past is buried there. And sometimes it watches back." She swallowed, gripping the baby tighter. "Stop talking in riddles. What are you implying?" "Memories." His voice was low, insistent. "Ghosts of what's been done. People who disappeared. Promises broken. Warnings ignored. You think this land is empty? It isn't. It never was." She felt the chill creep into her bones, not from the wind, but from his words. I don't believe in ghosts. No one does. Until they stare back at you." He knelt beside the well, brushing his fingers against the rough wood. "You've felt it. Haven't you? The weight of silence. The guilt that isn't yours, but you carry anyway. That's their curse." The baby whimpered, and she rocked it instinctively, muttering reassurances she barely believed herself. This isn't helping. I'm not. I can't. I just want a little peace, just for her." "You can't have peace," he said flatly. "Not until you face it. Not until you know who you're dealing with. Look at me." His eyes were shadowed, heavy with memory. "Your husband's death wasn't the first. And it won't be the last unless we act. Silence is what they want. Fear is what they feed on. And you've been hiding in their shadow." She shook her head. "I'm not hiding. I'm surviving." "No," he said, voice firmer now. "You're existing. There's a difference. Surviving is taking control. Existing is letting them decide your fate. Right now, they decide." She swallowed, letting the baby rest against her chest. The wind rattled the cabin's shutters. The well seemed darker than before, a void that pulled at her eyes. "I can't fight them. I can barely stand in this yard without shaking." "You'll have to," he said. "Because they won't wait for you to be ready. They never do. You'll learn quickly. Or you'll lose everything you hold dear." She clenched the baby closer. "And if I fail?" "You won't," he said, quietly, but without mercy. "You carry more than grief. You carry fire." They underestimated that when they thought your husband's death ended the line. They forgot about the blood still living. The ones who can see the truth and act. Her heart pounded. "You mean me? I'm supposed to." "I'm supposed to do what?" "Exactly that," he said. "Step into it. Face it. Even if it terrifies you. Even if it's impossible. Even if the whole world tells you it's not your place. It is. And it always was. The baby's eyes opened, dark and unblinking, staring into the well as if seeing something she could not. She whispered, "Do you see it too? Do you see what's down there?" He glanced at the child, then back at the black water. Sometimes. Not always. But you feel it. That's enough. That's what tells you when to act and when to wait. She shivered, the chill in her spine sharper than the wind. And the rest? The family? The town? They're all watching. Waiting. Testing. You can't pretend it's not them. Not anymore. They'll come for the baby. They'll come for you. And if you're not ready, he let the thought hang between them. You know what happens if you fail. Her teeth ground together. I won't fail. I can't. I'll do what I must. For her. For everything. He nodded, rising slowly. Good. That's the first step. The next step is harder. But you're ready. Or at least, you have no choice but to be ready. The wind moved through the trees again. The well seemed still, but the darkness at its bottom felt alive, pulsing with memory and warning. She pressed the baby closer. We start then. Tonight. I'll see it. I'll face it. Whatever it is. He nodded, a shadow among shadows. And when you do, you can't look away. Never. Not once. She whispered, softly, to the child against her chest, "We're not alone. And we won't be afraid." The smoke drifted across the yard before she even saw the sheriff. The stepmother froze, baby pressed to her chest. The man's badge glinted in the low firelight, his shadow stretching long across the cracked boards of the porch. The exiled man stepped beside her, silent, eyes dark. "Evening," the sheriff said, voice flat. "Bit late for a visit, isn't it?" She swallowed hard. We were just. Just what?" he cut in, eyes narrowing. "Hiding? Rocking a baby? I've heard about what's happening here. Heard it from people who know." The exiled man stepped forward. "You're too late, Sheriff. They don't hear you anymore." "Don't you speak to me like that," the sheriff barked. "You've no right. You've been gone for years. This is my town." The stepmother rocked the baby, trembling. "We just want peace. Please. That's all." "Peace," the sheriff spat. "Peace is a lie. And you're too naive to see it." The exiled man's eyes flicked to the distant barn. Smoke curled from the roof. "It's not a lie. It's coming. The fire started long before you arrived." The sheriff's gaze followed. He cursed under his breath, hand hovering near his sidearm. "Damn it. You've gone too far. You're playing with fire that's bigger than you can handle." She took a step forward, voice firm despite the tremor. "I'm protecting my child. That's bigger than anything else. I won't let anyone harm her." He scoffed. "A baby won't save you. Won't save anyone here. And you think hiding behind her shields you from what's coming?" "I'm not hiding," she said sharply. "I'm standing. And I'm not afraid of you." The exiled man nodded slightly. "She's right. You underestimated her. That's your mistake." "You think a child makes her dangerous," the sheriff said, tension rising. "You don't know the world. You don't know how it breaks people." "I've seen how it breaks people," she shot back, "and I won't let it break me." Her gaze shifted to the baby's small hands, clenched tight. "Not her. Not ever." The sheriff's hand twitched near his belt. "You're a fool if you think that changes anything. Fire doesn't care about children. Power doesn't care about them. And neither do I." She stepped closer, voice steady now, a quiet fury in every word. Then let's see if you care about justice. The air thickened. Smoke hung low. The barn's flames reflected in everyone's eyes, flickering like warning signs. The exiled man stayed silent, watching, waiting. "You think I'll back down?" the sheriff said, voice hard. "You think you can stand here and tell me what's right?" "I don't think," she said. "I know. And I act. That's all that matters now." He barked a laugh, bitter. "Act? You've no idea what acting costs." "I know enough," she said, shaking the baby gently, "to act for her. For her life, for her future. That's the only thing that counts." The exiled man finally spoke. "Enough talk. The fire shows the way. You either move or you burn with the rest." The sheriff's hand fell away from his belt, a momentary pause, a crack in his authority. He looked at her, at the baby, at the flames. You've got courage, I'll give you that. Dangerous courage." "I'll take it," she said. "And I'll use it." He grunted, stepping back. "This isn't over," he said, voice low, almost a threat. "But you've made your point. For now." The smoke curled higher, the barn burning brighter. The exiled man turned to her, silent acknowledgement in his eyes. She pressed the baby to her chest, feeling warmth against the chill of fear. "You did well," he said softly. "But this is just the beginning. Fire is only fire until you decide what it burns." She looked at the flames, then at the sheriff retreating down the path. "Then I'll decide," she said quietly. "And no one will tell me otherwise." The wind carried ash across the yard, dusting the porch in their hands. Smoke, heat, and the baby's steady breathing became her anchor. She whispered, more to herself than anyone else, "We survive. That's all that matters." And in the flickering shadows, she realized that courage was heavier than fear, but she could carry it. Morning light filtered through the cracks of the cabin, pale and uneven. The stepmother sat on the floor, the baby asleep beside her, blankets tangled around tiny legs. Scattered around her were old letters, brittle and yellowed, pulled from the corners of drawers, hidden under floorboards, and slipped between the pages of a forgotten Bible. She picked one up, hands shaking. The handwriting was tight, sharp, angry. These are from him," she whispered. The exiled man crouched beside her, eyes scanning each line. "Not him. His father. And his father's father. They left warnings, confessions, instructions. Secrets meant to rot in silence." She held the paper closer, reading aloud, voice trembling. "We leave only shadows and debts. Whoever survives must carry both." She swallowed. "Shadows and debts, what does it mean?" "It means what it always means," he said. "You inherit what they don't want you to understand. Pain, fear, responsibility. But also leverage. Knowledge. The power to act." She shook her head. "I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask to carry anyone's sins." "No one asks," he said flatly. "But here it is. And if you ignore it, it will crush you. If you face it, you have a chance." She flipped through another letter, words smudged with time. They speak of graves. And wells. Places I don't know. Things I don't understand. "You will understand," he said. "Step by step. The wells hold memory. The graves hold warning. Both remind you what happens when people are silenced." Her hands trembled over the letters. "And the others?" she asked. "The people in town, the sheriff, the landowners, are they all part of this?" "They all know," he said. "They all watch. They wait. Some act. Some hide. All are bound by the same rules. And all fear what you might do if you finally understand." She pressed the baby to her chest, rocking gently. "I can't. I can barely read this without wanting to cry. I can't imagine facing them all at once." "You don't have to," he said. "You only need to face one at a time. Secrets don't move in unison. People do. Learn who moves first. Learn who whispers last. The baby stirred, tiny fists brushing her cheek. She whispered, more to the child than to him, "We have to do this. We have no choice." "Exactly," he said, voice low. "No choice. That's why they think they can corner you. But knowledge changes the game." She picked up another letter, faint ink outlining words she could barely read. "Protect the line. Honor the child. The truth will rise." She blinked, swallowing hard. "Protect the line, that's what they're asking me to do?" "Yes," he said. "And it's more than survival. It's justice. Even if justice is messy, slow, and cruel." She shook her head, pressing the baby tighter. "Justice, can it really exist here? In a place like this?" "It exists when someone refuses to be silent," he said. "That's all you have to do for now. Refuse to be silent. Listen to the letters, remember what they warn, and act when the time comes." Her fingers traced the edges of the paper, feeling the weight of generations. "I've never been ready for anything like this. Never." "No one ever is," he said. "You act because you must. You survive because you care. You fight because the child in your arms has no other defender." She swallowed, eyes wet. "Then we start. Tonight. I'll read everything. I'll learn. I'll be ready." The exiled man nodded, shadows flickering across his face. "Good. That's the first step. Knowledge doesn't give courage, but it gives reason. And reason is stronger than fear if you use it right." She looked down at the baby, fragile and unaware of the legacy pressing down on her tiny shoulders. "We carry the weight together," she whispered. "We face it together. Whatever comes." He reached out, brushing the edge of a letter, careful not to touch the baby. "Remember, nothing hidden is truly gone. It waits. But you have the choice to uncover it. And in uncovering, you take control." She pressed the letters to her chest, feeling the brittle weight, the responsibility, the history. "Then I'll do it. For her. For all of them. I'll carry it. I'll act." Outside, the wind shifted. The house groaned under old wood and whispered memories. She glanced at the well beyond the yard, at the smoke-stained barn, at the roads winding toward the town. Shadows and debts, secrets and warnings, they were all hers now. And she would not fail. The yard stretched empty, pale light brushing over cracked fences and graves half hidden under overgrown grass. The stepmother stepped onto the dirt path, baby in her arms, boots sinking into the dust. She could feel the eyes of the town on her, even from a distance, whispers slipping through open windows. "They're out there," the exiled man said, standing just behind her. "Watching. Waiting. Judging." "I see them," she whispered, voice tight. "I can feel it. Their shadows are long today." "Good," he said. "Let them watch. Let them measure. That's how you begin." She gritted her teeth, rocking the baby slightly. "And what am I beginning? A war? A confrontation? Or just a life in fear?" "A life in fear is over if you choose it," he said. "This is the first move. The hollowed yard doesn't forgive weakness." She glanced at the graves lining the edge of the yard. Old stones, cracked and lichen-covered, names barely legible. "I've walked past these for years. Ignored them. Pretended they were nothing. Pretending is what they count on," he said. "You can't pretend anymore. Not with her in your arms." Footsteps. A wagon rattled across the distant road. She stiffened. "They're coming. The sheriff, the landowners, someone's coming." "Good," he said, nodding. "We'll see who moves first." A figure emerged from behind a fence post. A distant relative, face tight with suspicion, hands resting on a belt buckle. "What's she doing out here?" the man called. "You think a child makes you untouchable?" The stepmother's voice was sharp. I'm not untouchable. I'm present. And I'll face whatever comes. The man laughed bitterly. You can't face what you don't understand. You can barely stand in this yard without shaking. I've learned to stand, she said, voice steady now. And I will continue to stand. No one will decide for me. No one. The exiled man stayed close, eyes alert, silent. Watch their movements. Let them speak. Let them test you. The relative took a cautious step forward. And what if this is bigger than you? What if this yard, this land, has rules you can't break? I make my own rules, she said. I've had enough of theirs. I've had enough of silence. I've had enough of fear. The figure's jaw tightened. You think words can change things? That courage in a cradle will save you? I think action does, she said. Not words. Not prayers. Not hiding. Action. That's what matters now. The man paused, eyes narrowing, calculating. Bold words for someone so new to this fight. I've had time to learn, she said. Longer than you know. I've watched. I've listened. I've survived. And now I decide. The relative stepped back slightly, as if realizing she might not be bluffing. Maybe you're stronger than they told me. I am, she said simply. And every day, I'll be stronger still. Strong enough for her. Strong enough for what comes next. The exiled man's voice was soft, almost a warning. Hollowed yards don't forgive mistakes. But they respect strength. You've shown it today. Keep showing it. She looked down at the baby, small and warm, unaware of the tension outside. We survive together, she whispered. We face what must be faced. One step at a time. The relative finally moved off the path, but not without a glance back, a silent acknowledgement of her presence, her determination. The stepmother exhaled, letting the tension slip slightly from her shoulders. The exiled man gestured to the graves. Remember them. The yard is hollowed by their absence, but full of warning. Every stone, every shadow is a reminder. Don't forget. I won't, she said. I carry it all now. And I'll act when the time comes. No hesitation. No fear. Only action. The wind stirred the tall grass, and she felt it brushing over her face like a caution and a promise. She pressed the baby closer, eyes scanning the yard, every shadow, every fence line. We move forward, she whispered. We take our place. And no one stops us. The exiled man nodded, silent approval in his eyes. The hollowed yard held its breath, waiting, but she had made her choice. And the town, the sheriff, the relatives, every eye that watched, would learn that she would not be bent, not broken, not silenced. The night was thick with smoke and the smell of burning wood. The barn beyond the yard glowed orange, flames licking the sky. The stepmother pressed the baby against her chest, boots rooted in dust and ash. The exiled man stayed close, eyes scanning every shadow. They're here, he said, voice low. All of them. The sheriff, the landowners, everyone who thought they could bend you. She clenched her jaw. Good. Let them see me. A creak of boards announced footsteps on the porch. The sheriff stepped into the light, face hard, hand resting on his revolver. You've gone too far, he spat. This is chaos. You can't survive it. I don't have to survive your rules, she said, voice steady. I make my own. The exiled man's eyes flicked to the approaching shadows of the landowners. Watch their moves. They test first, then strike. The sheriff's voice sharpened. A baby won't save you from this. You're alone out here. I'm never alone, she said, pressing the child closer. I have her. That's enough. One of the landowners stepped forward, lantern in hand, eyes wide with caution. You can't stand against all of us. Try me, she said simply. I won't flinch. I won't break. And I won't let any of you touch her." The exiled man's voice cut through the tension. "Fire shows the truth. You either move with it or burn with it. Decide." The sheriff cursed, spinning his hand toward the barn as a smaller fire spread along the roof. Sparks flew into the night, carrying warning across the yard. "You'll regret this. Every choice you make tonight, you'll regret it." She shook her head. "No. You'll regret underestimating me." One landowner laughed bitterly. "Words don't save children." "I don't need words," she said. "I have action. And it's enough." The exiled man stepped forward now, slow, deliberate, watching for the moment to strike. "They move like predators," he whispered. "You need to be faster, sharper, unrelenting." She inhaled sharply, baby tucked safely against her chest. "Then I'll be all of that. And more. You'll see." The sheriff's hand hovered over his gun. "You think courage can stand alone against power?" "It can," she said. "When it's for something worth fighting for." The first landowner lunged, misjudging her stance. She sidestepped, firm foot planting in the dust, and swung the baby slightly against her chest, a protective motion more than a strike. The man froze, staring, unsure of her confidence. "You underestimate me," she said quietly. "All of you. That's your mistake." The sheriff's eyes narrowed. "You've got fire," he said. "Dangerous fire." "I've got more than fire," she said. "I've got purpose. And you can't touch it." The exiled man nodded slightly, hand resting near his belt but careful not to draw. "Let them test. Let them realize. The night shows what they cannot see in daylight." Another figure tried to flank her, but she pivoted, moving with instinct she didn't know she possessed. Her voice was calm, chilling. "You want the line broken? You want fear to win? You're too late. I'm here. I won't bend. I won't break. And I won't stop." The sheriff hesitated, uncertainty creeping into his stance. You're not afraid?" "I'm afraid," she said softly. "Terrified. But fear isn't what rules me. Love is. Her life. Her safety. That's the measure of my strength." The barn's flames roared higher, casting jagged shadows across the yard. Sparks drifted like fireflies. The landowners and the sheriff froze, realizing their intimidation failed. The exiled man's voice carried over the crackling fire. "This is the reckoning. They'll leave tonight knowing you aren't to be trifled with. Not by fear. Not by power. Only by your rules." The stepmother exhaled, shoulders steadying, gaze unwavering. "Then let them leave. Let them see. Let them remember who stands in this yard." The sheriff's hand fell from his gun, grudging respect in his eyes. The landowners shifted uneasily, lanterns lowering. The exiled man stayed by her side, silent. She whispered to the baby, barely audible over the fire, "We survived this night. And we'll survive the next. Always together." The night stretched, heavy with ash and smoke, but she felt a clarity she hadn't known. Courage, purpose, and love were enough. And now, they all knew it. The smoke had cleared, leaving the yard gray and brittle. Ash clung to the porch boards and the edges of her boots. The barn's skeleton smoldered in the distance, blackened timbers curling into the sky. The baby slept, wrapped in blankets, tiny breaths steady and warm against her chest. She sank onto the porch, knees drawn up, eyes scanning the hollowed yard. The exiled man leaned against the railing, silent. His eyes, dark in the early light, were unreadable. "They're gone," she said softly, almost to herself. "For now." "They'll be back," he said. "People like them always return. But tonight, you held your ground. That counts." "I don't know if I held it, or if I just survived it," she said. I feel so tired." "You survived," he said, voice low. "And survival is the first step. Strength comes next. Control comes last." But you've earned this moment. She glanced at the baby, small and quiet, and smiled weakly. She doesn't know what happened. She doesn't understand fear yet. She won't remember. She will, in ways you can't see, he said. But that's good. Fear is nothing without someone to guide it. You're her guide now. You've shown her courage. She shifted, pressing the child closer. I didn't feel courageous. I just acted. Acting is courage, he said. You moved when others would have frozen. You protected her. That's all that matters. She let her head fall back against the railing, watching smoke curl into the pale sky. I keep thinking about the letters, she said. The ones hidden in the drawers, the Bible, every warning, every secret. It's all so heavy. I don't know if I can carry it. You carry it because you have to, he said. And because you can. It's not light, but it's yours now. The past doesn't vanish. It waits. But you hold it in your hands, not them. Her fingers brushed over the folded letters, still tied with faded string. I wonder if my husband ever imagined this. That she would be here. That I'd have to take responsibility. For everything. He did, the exiled man said quietly. He saw what could happen. He just didn't live long enough to act. You are his legacy. And now it's your turn to protect it. I don't know if I'm ready, she said, voice barely above a whisper. Some nights I feel broken. You're not broken, he said firmly. You're awake. You're aware. You act. That's the opposite of broken. The baby stirred, tiny hands reaching for her mother's face. She smiled, brushing back the soft hair. We'll survive this, she whispered to the child. We have to. Together. You will, he said. And one day, you'll look back and see that tonight was just a beginning. Not an end. The quiet now, it's a gift, not a promise. Use it to prepare, to strengthen, to learn. Tomorrow comes with new tests. She nodded slowly, letting the quiet settle over her. The ash underfoot, the scorched wood, the hollowed graves, they were all reminders of the battles fought, but also of what had been endured. I'm learning, she said. Step by step. Moment by moment. For her, for the letters, for everything they tried to take. The exiled man finally moved away from the railing, stepping toward the edge of the yard. Keep her close. Keep your eyes open. And remember, strength doesn't come from being unafraid. It comes from acting even when you are. She pressed the baby tighter, the rhythm of tiny breaths a steady heartbeat against her own. I'll remember, she whispered. I'll act. I'll survive. No matter what comes. The wind shifted, carrying faint smoke and the scent of burned timber. The yard, gray and hollowed, seemed quieter, almost watchful. She felt it settle around her like a warning and a promise. Outside, the distant town remained unaware of what had passed, but she didn't need them to know. She had faced the night. She had protected her child. She had survived the reckoning. And in that quiet, fragile moment, she understood something she hadn't before. She would endure. She would act. She would continue the line. With the baby in her arms, she whispered again, softly, firmly, we move forward. Always forward. Dawn broke slow and pale, washing the yard in soft gray light. The ashes from the burned barn lay scattered across the dirt path, glinting like broken glass in the quiet. The stepmother stood in the middle of the yard, baby cradled against her chest, blanket tangled around her fingers. The exiled man remained close, shadowed and silent, eyes scanning the edges of the horizon. Do you ever wonder, she said, voice low, if it will ever stop? The threats, the secrets, the waiting? It stops, he said quietly, only when you decide it does. Not when they leave. Not when the town forgets. Only when you take control. She shifted the baby slightly, feeling the warmth and life in her tiny body. I never thought I'd have this responsibility. This weight. And now. I feel it in every breath. You will, he said. And that's not a burden. That's power. You've carried it this far. You'll carry it farther. She let the letters fall from her lap, old paper fluttering against the dirt. They wrote warnings, confessions, curses, all of it was meant to frighten me, I think. But now I see, it wasn't just fear. It was a map. A guide. He nodded. Exactly. Knowledge doesn't come free. It comes with weight. And you've borne it without breaking. That's what matters. That's how tomorrow is earned. She glanced toward the well, its dark mouth like a hollow eye in the yard. I remember the first night. I thought it was watching me. But it was only showing me what I could survive. And you did, he said, voice steady. You survived and you acted. Every choice, every step, has brought you here. Now you see that survival isn't enough. You have to embrace the line. The child, the letters, the memory. That's your path forward. She pressed her lips to the baby's forehead. I feel different. Stronger. Like I've been broken, and now, rebuilt in pieces that actually hold. That's exactly what it is, he said. The night takes parts of us. The fire burns away weakness. And the quiet after, that's when we discover what remains. She exhaled, letting her shoulders drop for the first time in weeks. I think I understand now. The danger isn't gone. The town, the sheriff, they'll test me again. But it won't matter. Not like before. I know who I am. I know what I protect. And you will protect it, he said. Always. That's the whisper of tomorrow. The one you carry in your hands and in your heart. The baby stirred, tiny fingers brushing her cheek. She smiled, brushing the hair back. We survived the night. And now we begin a new day. Together. I'll teach her courage the way I learned it. Slowly. Fiercely. With no hesitation. You'll teach her, he said softly, and she will know it. You've become more than the fears they planted. More than the shadows that tried to define you. You've become the reason tomorrow is possible. She looked out across the hollowed yard, at the graves, the scorched barn, the fence lines that had once felt like barriers. I don't feel like I'm alone anymore. Even when the danger returns. I won't be. Good, he said, turning slightly. That's how it begins. With the knowledge that you're not alone. That the line continues. That the child, the letters, the memories, all of it lives in you. And you can choose what they become. She pressed her lips to the baby again, whispering softly, we move forward. Always forward. Not afraid. Not silent. Always together. The wind lifted, carrying ashen scent of burned timber, weaving through the hollowed yard like a quiet promise. The stepmother felt it settle around her, not heavy now, but steady. It was not a threat. It was the weight of what had been endured and the power to shape what would come. The exiled man's shadow lingered, then stepped back. He nodded once, a silent acknowledgement of completion, of trust placed where it belonged. She straightened, baby in arms, gaze firm and unwavering. The town, the sheriff, the shadows, they would all come again. But she was ready. The letters, the memories, the fire, the hollowed yard, they had shaped her into someone who would act, someone who could endure. And in the quiet morning, she whispered to the child, to the land, to herself, this is our line. Our strength. Our tomorrow. The baby cooed softly, a small, steady heartbeat in her arms. And for the first time since the night began, the stepmother felt the whisper of tomorrow as something she could hold, something she could protect, something she could live. The valley was silent now, the judge and his men gone, leaving only the thin smoke from the fire lingering in the cold morning air. Caleb sank onto a fallen log, staring at the smoldering embers. It's over, Emily said softly, kneeling beside him. Over? Caleb's voice was rough. Nothing's ever truly over. She brushed ash from her coat. Then we start rebuilding. Caleb shook his head. Rebuilding doesn't fix what's gone. My brother, my family, they're gone. Emily placed a hand on his shoulder. And yet we're here. Still standing. Standing doesn't mean whole, he said. His hands trembled slightly as he rubbed at his eyes. Emily's eyes softened. Whole doesn't come all at once. You know that. Caleb exhaled slowly, letting the tension roll off him. I've carried this guilt for years. Letters, secrets, shadows, they've eaten at me every night. Emily picked up one of the letters, letting it fall open in her hands. And yet you survived, she said. Barely, he muttered, voice low. The fire spit a thin trail of sparks into the air, vanishing before they touched anything. Caleb glanced at the ashes, letting the remnants of flame remind him of everything lost. Do you ever forgive yourself? Emily asked quietly. I don't know if I can, he admitted. Not for him. Not for the choices I made. Emily's gaze held his. Then forgive the ones still here. Forgive yourself for staying alive. Caleb looked at her, really looked, and saw the truth in her words. It's not easy, he said. Easy doesn't exist in this valley, she replied. But it's necessary. Silence hung between them, filled only by the distant rush of river water and the whisper of wind through the trees. Caleb's hands rested on his knees. The letters, he said finally. They're proof. Proof of what I failed to protect. Proof of everything hidden. Emily set hers down gently. And proof that you faced it. That you're not hiding anymore. He let out a long, shaky breath. Facing it, it doesn't feel like relief. It feels like the weight doubled. Weight shared or lighter, she said softly. Caleb shook his head slowly. I've shared it with no one. Not until now. Then it's a start, she said. He glanced at the smoldering fire again. Every ember feels like a memory I can't escape. Emily leaned closer. Then we don't escape. We carry them. Together. Caleb's jaw tightened. Together, he repeated, voice low, almost reverent. He ran a hand through his hair, staring at the darkened valley below. The judge, he'll move on, but the past doesn't. It waits. Emily followed his gaze. Then we don't run from it. We face it every day, in every choice. Caleb's hands rested heavily on the log. I thought I could outrun it. Thought hiding in this cabin would protect me. Hiding never protects, she said. It only postpones reckoning. Caleb exhaled slowly, eyes scanning the valley, the shadows, the trees. And yet I survived. Against every expectation. Emily smiled faintly. Then survival counts for something. Caleb looked at her, a flicker of something like hope crossing his face. Does it? Yes, she said. Because you're here. And we're still here. That matters. Another pause. Only the river and wind spoke. Caleb's fingers brushed the ashes. Everything we lost, will it define us? Only if we let it, Emily replied. Caleb nodded slowly. I want to believe that. Then believe it, she said. Believe it enough to move forward. Caleb leaned back against the log, letting the cold seep into him, grounding him. Emily sat beside him, quiet but present. The past is ashes, she said. And ashes can grow into something new. Caleb's gaze lingered on the smoldering fire, letting the weight of those words sink in. I don't know if I can grow, he muttered. Not alone, Emily said softly. But together, maybe we can. Caleb exhaled, closing his eyes for a moment. Together, he whispered. The wind carried the scent of smoke, of pine, of frostbitten earth across the valley. Caleb opened his eyes, seeing the pale light of morning creeping over the ridge. The letters, the fire, all of it, he said. It doesn't leave. Emily smiled faintly. It leaves only what you decide to carry forward. He nodded slowly. Then we carry it together. Emily's hand brushed against his, light but steady. Always, she said. Caleb exhaled again, letting the chill in the air mix with the warmth of the moment. The valley watches, he said quietly. It always has. And it will, Emily said softly. But we've faced it tonight. And we'll face tomorrow, too. Caleb leaned back slightly, letting the weight of memory and truth settle into something manageable, something real. Ashes of the past, he muttered. And yet, not the end. Emily nodded. Not the end. But the beginning. Caleb's hand rested over hers. A beginning, he repeated. The fire flickered one last time, embers dancing in the morning light. Shadows of the past pressed against the valley, silent and patient. Caleb and Emily remained, side by side, carrying what remained, bearing what had been, and stepping toward whatever came next, together.